Now, Kevin Hench, how are you, fella?
Well, I'm in a bad way. I
Hmm.
just feel like watching what went down in Dallas last night was one of the most like sickening feelings I've had as a sort of a neutral sports fan. I guess I'm not really neutral because I hate the Lakers, but it's like my none of my teams are playing in the game, but I'm watching a fan base that, through no fault of their own. It's like sometimes you're like, hey, fans, like you don't go to the stadium, like your team, you're not like the Dallas Maverick fans did everything they could to support their team. And then their team said, go fuck yourselves. And to watch those fans, it's like obviously when Brady came back to New England, he's going to get a big ovation. He's not going to get a standing ovation every time he gets a first down. Like it's not going to go on through the whole game. The Patriot fans are going to revert to rooting for the Patriots as soon as the game starts. This game where the fans were cheering Luka on all of his 45 points as the Lakers destroyed the Mavericks, and Anthony Davis proving yet again what a fucking worthless sack of shit he is. Like there was a point in that game where it's close and Anthony Davis settled for a three from the top of the key, like just like it was a summer league game, like just like I don't know, let's shoot a three, and it's like no chance it was going in. Obviously, well, your best offensive rebounder, yeah, he shot the ball. He's 25 feet from the hoop, so it's not, it's like it just. And AD was like 5 for 13, had minimal impact on the game, while Luka's completely dominating them. They're chanting "Fire Nico," and in between cheering for Luka. And it's like, oh, this is just a fan base that's been obliterated. These are just like, more and more we feel like naive saps who are like, why do we invest anything in these teams when a casino owner has a different plan or whatever the fucking reason is for destroying your team? I mean, like the Suns are destroyed for like the next millennium. Like the Suns are the oldest team in the league and have no first round picks until the year 3000. Like but at least they destroyed the team by making bad decisions in the spirit of going for it. Like those decisions did not work out, and the Suns are terrible, and there's no light at the end of that tunnel. Like the Mavericks were in the finals last year and decided. I just like it's just more and more incomprehensible that they were like, we have to blow this up. And by the way, like when you're the GM, one of the things you have to take into account as you get your 30 cents on the dollar, and again, always to LA, whether it's Kareem or Shaq or Luka, it's always got to be to LA. Make sure it's to LA. But I don't know that any of us understood how beloved Luka was in Dallas. Like, I think if the Grizzlies traded their lunatic best player, I don't think there'd be a mutiny. I don't think like Grizzly fans love Ja Morant. Like, I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but like I obviously every fan base loves their best player. That's baked in. But obviously, what was going on between Luka and these fans was deeper than just a guy who's fun to watch. And so, watching the
I,
tribute.
I also I do wonder if there's a don't know what you got till it's gone effect there, that all of a sudden that Luca, I think the national reaction, the visceral like couple hours within the trade being announced reaction nationally was like, what the F did the Mavs just do? Reaction, I think, kind of informed some of that Mavs fan reaction. Listen, man, it is such a bizarre time in which we reside. And maybe I'm a broken record, or no, I am a broken record, but this is exactly the shit I'm talking about week after week after week here. You know, I thought it was nice on one hand to sort of all sports the conversation. So the grade eight Ovechkin breaks the unbreakable goal record of Gretzky, and he does it up in Long Island. And I think the Islanders fans rightly get national praise for not booing in whatever. That would be weird to boo Ovechkin. At the same time, on Wednesday night, while Luka, the Laker, is being cheered in Dallas, and in the same week, the Washington, D.C. Russian superstar is being cheered in Pittsburgh, the 15,000 people there for the Pat McAfee show were booing the state, were the state. I just, there you go, Freudian. They were booing Canada, like passionately booing Canada. What the hell is going on, man? Where are we, Hench?
Well, we're upside down, obviously, and this all comes back to social media. Like everyone's brain has been so scrambled. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's good. They don't know how good they have it. Everybody's miserable. Everybody's a victim at all times. Oh, Canada. Canada's victimizing us. But what I would say, how I would differentiate, the Islander fans did it exactly right. You go, here's what we want to have happen. We want this guy to break the record, and we want the $1,200 we paid for these tickets to have mattered.
By the way, I think they paid like $45 was the I think you could get in there to see that bit of history for $45. It's like Roger Maris's home run in Yankee Stadium, and when it lands in the seats, like, wait, how come there aren't more people there? Shouldn't they have been gathered around to watch this history? It is weird too now that I'm thinking about it, like Wilt Chamberlain, nobody saw that. There's no visual evidence of that happening. It is funny that anyway, continue with your thoughts.
So your team that's not going to the playoffs wins. I don't think you actually, the difference in Dallas was like, yeah, Luka's points are contributing to your team losing. Your team's going to lose. You're like, yay, my team's losing. And that, I guess is how angry Mavs fans are. So I'm like, I don't think Islander fans wanted Ovi to have a hat trick in a 6-3 victory. They wanted him to break the record while the Islanders kicked the shit out of a Capitals team that was barely trying. That was perfect.
That's true. I don't, by the way, for the record, I would love to be eyewitness to a no-hitter, to a perfect game. That would be a great thing if I could. From an opposing pitcher, I'd be fine with that. The biggest bit of history I've seen that went against my team was Mike Schmidt hitting number 500 in Three River Stadium. Anyway, continue.
So whether it's the Adelson family wants to move the team or whatever the reason that the organization, and I know it's all being laid at Nico's feet. It's kind of like Chaim Bloom getting blamed for the Mookie Betts trade. Like this was his brainchild. I know what I'll do. I'll trade Mookie Betts for a nickel on the dollar. Like it's like that wasn't his idea. Like obviously these big moves come from top down, and then you have to fall on your sword. But the part where you have to know as the GM, like, this is the most beloved sports figure in Dallas since Roger Staubach. Like, I don't like it. We can't get 30 cents on the dollar. And given that there were 28 better offers out there, had he bothered to explore what other teams, well, like it's snowballed like from that day one rapid reaction of like, wow, this seems like a bad trade on paper. Oh, definitely. Wait 28 minutes for AD to get hurt. That predictable event. And then watch Luka start to mesh with LeBron and Austin Reeves. Watch the Lakers get good. Watch the Mavericks disappear. And it's not like, well, we're taking it on the chin this year because we got 5 first-round picks. Like, we knew we were going to suck. It's like, no, you got fucking nothing. Like, you gave Luka to the Lakers. It's so insane. Then you watch the tribute video and all the fans cheering him, and you're like, oh, also this iconic, beloved figure in the city. Like, they love him so much. It just gets worse and worse every day to the point where I don't know, like, I don't like our culture of making fun of people, voting people off the island, belittling people. And then even when you win, you still, Angel Reese has to go taunt Caitlin Clark. It's like, no, you just fucking won the national championship. Go celebrate with your team. It's like, no, no, no. Our culture now is like, yes, rub it in, make it worse. Like when Bernie Madoff fucking ruined all those people's lives, I was like, all right, he's going to jail. We don't need to assault him. He's an old man. We don't need to assault him on the sidewalk. Like, let him walk to his apartment where the marshals will take him to prison. Like, when Epstein hanged himself, I was like, okay, good. That's good. That's over now. And people are like furious that he's not going to suffer in perpetuity. It's like, no, he's dead. That's all we want is he's dead. So like Nico Harrison, it's like, okay, he's dead. We don't have to keep like, I was actually pained. Like they're zooming in on him while, tens of thousands of people are like basically wishing him ill. And it's like, it was just painful. The whole thing was painful. Obviously, Dallas brought it on themselves. And by the way, if he was told to do it, he should do a blog post to that effect. Hey,
well, what they have on him is his ongoing employment. Maybe we'll hear about that one day, but also, the Nico of it makes it so that it sort of mutes my conspiratorial thoughts on it, but it does stink that the NBA was in the midst of this real downturn. The ratings were down. The vibes were bad, and then voila, the iconic Los Angeles Lakers do it again, with one of the 2 or 3 biggest stars in the world, and it just does plainly seem fishy. And by the way, if you don't like that and you don't like a poisonous approach bearing fruit, which now makes me think of White Lotus, as I say that out loud, I got worse news for you. I think this works out swimmingly for the NBA this spring and summer. You're going to get now the Lakers. I mean, maybe they'll get upset, but barring that, I mean, the Lakers should have a deep playoff run in them now. We sat here, the day after that deal was made, and we had a pretty good conversation, and what sounded to me to be, cogent cynicism from you was like, how are they going to defend anybody? They don't have a 5. Luka is a deficit. They are just going to go at him and at him and at him, and that'll undo him. But I don't know, man. From what I see, and a couple go rounds against SGA and company in OKC, that seems to be the most formidable team in the West. Seems like the Lakers can keep up with that. I don't know. Maybe playoff basketball, the defense will ratchet itself up and everything, and it won't be a big deal. But it seems to me like the Lakers are destined for a couple of rounds at least. The team no one's talking about, or very little, to dip my toes into the NBA Western Conference waters a little bit. The team very few people are buzzing about is the other Los Angeles team. If the Hollywood blockbusters, the Hollywood stars, the Hollywood Rhinos, or whatever you want to call them, or the LA Clippers, if they're still going by that, if Kawhi, I am skeptical that Kawhi has it in him to do a 2-month run like he's pulled off with a couple other franchises in his career at this point. But what if he can give you one fortnight? He could take down a heavyweight in the West, and it could be the Lakers.
Well, the problem, I mean, yesterday was a dark day for Laker haters for a lot of reasons. And the Warriors capped it off with a fucking chef's kiss loss to the Spurs, which is going to doom them to the play-in, which means the Lakers won't get a 3-6 matchup against the Warriors in the first round, which they very easily could have lost because, as you mentioned, they would have bad defenders having to check this Warriors small ball lineup of Draymond at the 5 and Butler at the 4, essentially, with Podziemski and Moody and Steph. Like, that's a real problem for the Lakers. Oh, don't worry about it. The Warriors are going to lose at home as 16-point favorites to the Spurs. You won't have to deal with them in the first round. So you're going to get like a Grizz Wolves, which you'll breeze through. Then you won't get the Thunder in the second round. You'll get like a Rockets second round, and then you'll get the Thunder in the finals of the Western Conference, which is best case scenario for the Lakers. So yeah, I agree that the Lakers are primed for a deep run. I have to say, you know, what coaching is getting the most out of your roster. And Redick seems like a fucking sorcerer. Like the defensive rating has gone up. Like, and if you watch what they did last night in Dallas, like they're small, but big men receiving the ball in the low block against smaller defenders who get doubled immediately. Like AD just had a village around him. Like he couldn't. So it was like, make that guy make decisions, get into rotation, and he was very ineffective. And so I think Redick has figured out a way to mask the individual defensive deficiencies with this team defense. And yeah, I'm sad to say that I think this whole thing is going to work out for the NBA with a deep Laker playoff run. I know Spaghetti had a couple things.
I know. I want to
Yeah.
hear Spaghetti's thing. I do want to say quickly about that, though, as we wrap up college basketball run. It is funny because I made my perennial remark about the March Madness fun and everything else, but it's the only sport going when the teams from 25 years ago could beat the current teams. I'm starting to think that might be true, or at least would be fascinating if we could somehow get the computers to focus in on this and show us what it would look like with, you know, the Dubs at their heights, Steph and KD and everything else, when they were at the height of their powers against like the best team in 1995, how that would go, because it was so different. You know, that's when the Heat and Knickerbockers were playing to like 90. Whoever gets to 90 first wins the game versus this. I would love to see, because people say, oh, Steph would get the crap kicked out of him if he tried to go back in time. I think that's always overstated a little bit. I would love to see if we could have a cross-generational showdown between like a mid-90s NBA, what presents as a powerhouse back then versus now, because I really don't know who would win that one. Anyway, Spaghetti, go ahead.
Yeah, like to your point, Shek, like the kind of like touching on like the conspiratorial stuff. Like I don't think it's so crazy because I think we're missing the full picture here, or at least it's not being fully reported on. Like I know people say like, oh, like the NBA just wants the Lakers to be good. Like I don't think it's like that full-fledged like that with the mission, but you know, Mark Cuban was the majority owner, obviously, sold the team, and he didn't do this the day before they traded Luka, but then he's like at the court, you know, he's in Dallas yesterday as a minority owner, and he's like, you know, dapping up Luka, smiling. Like if I was the owner of that team and I trade and then I sold the team and then they traded away the best player, one of the best players in franchise history, one of the most beloved players, if not for Dirk, maybe Luka is number one. Like I would be like the scene in Arrested Development where like Job is in the hospital. He's like, I made a huge mistake. Like this, that, and it's so weird that you're putting this like the Slovenian, like the congratulatorial stuff on the scoreboard, and then meanwhile you traded him to the Lakers, and then you get back Anthony Davis, who is now your new superstar, and then he has to see that like the entire fan base still like loving Luka instead of embracing the new guy. And then you know, Nico, like Hench talking about before, like how he's getting blamed for all of this. And I don't know. I just feel like it's part of like there's more going on. The front office had these plans, and I feel like Nico is probably keeping his mouth shut. And people want to start blaming like the Luka, the party aspect. It's like, have you not seen like the Chicago Bulls that won 6 titles? Like you don't think like Jordan was partying? Like I don't fully buy into, you know, that they did this for the best interest of the team. There definitely is more nefarious things going on, and I just feel like this kind of just it stinks, and it makes the NBA kind of tough to fully embrace when you see this was going on, and then the Lakers benefit from this, and again, like Luka, who could be drunk or hungover, missing practice, whatever, and he'll still drop 40 points on you. So I just feel like it's just a weird situation that makes it like less enjoyable. Like instead of like a thing where, wow, blockbuster trade, you're now being like, well, why really was he traded? And it just that's my kind of black mark on the league right now.
I think so many different directions from this. First of all, the Lakers and maybe Los Angeles as a sports town is the model for the rest of sports America going forward. And maybe I am naive or cheesy or whatever for rooting for non-mercenaries, not people who did stuff somewhere else to come to save my team in my sports town. But that's what the Lakers are predicated on. And in fact, the Dodgers just won a World Series in part with Ohtani and Freeman and Betts. So, um, you know, obviously those guys had professional lives before they wore Dodger blue, and the Lakers entire history is built around that. But then the other side of it is, as you get in, is bringing in people from other parts of sports America to build your dynasty. As you know, I'm generally against that model. um, the other part of it is that you touch on with Luka. If you at least buy the Mavs thing is like, well, or the whispers were, well, Luka, we don't like his boozing and we don't like his lack of conditioning and all of that. It is amazing that, and maybe not a coincidence, that the Lakers organization um, kind of weighs in on Shaq's weight or Luka's weight, because that binds Luka back to the early part of this millennium when Kobe and Shaq had their falling out, which was, Shaq, you're not working hard enough. And Shaq saying, what I'm doing is good enough, man. I'm one of the all-time greats. And I think spiritually, we've had this conversation on the show that, like, given a choice of approaching greatness the way Shaq does or the way Kobe does, I'll take the former. I'll take the Shaq path. And it also then ties into Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin clearly ain't hit like all the stuff about Kobe. Like, why is he great? Because he's in the gym when it's 1:30 a.m. and everybody else is out partying. You know who's one of those everybody else's? Alex Ovechkin. Probably Luka too. Also, Shaq and Mario Lemieux and guys like that. And by the way, I think for what it matters, I find that more charming. Being closer to a robot, like an obsessive robot, is not as charming to me as a guy who's sort of like Bunyan-esque in his legend. Like, yeah, as I've said before and we'll say again, Mario Lemieux's conditioning program was, I stopped eating the fries after the 18 holes went with my burger when the season is approaching. Like, I mean, I think that's funny. And also, that kind of is the history of sports, right?
Well, Mickey Mantle, obviously, it's more endearing to be hit, figuring out which baseball to hit because you're so hungover, you're seeing two of them. But the the insane part of that theory is like, okay, again, I use the Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant thing when they tell Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, your general, is an alcoholic. And Abraham Lincoln says, well, great, find out what brand of whiskey he drinks and give it to all my other generals because he's the only one winning any battles. So if Luka is a drunk, then you got to get the rest of the team on his drinking program because he's by far the best player on your team and he's carried you to the finals, with a not great roster. So obviously, no matter what the throes of his illness he's in, he's still producing on the court. The other thing you have to take into account as you make the worst trade in fucking sports history is the hundreds of millions of people who have stopped drinking. What the fuck happens? What happens if he goes, oh, I'm so angry, I'm going to start going to meetings and I'm going to be jacked when I show up in the fall? Like, it's like he's already great no matter what he's doing. And so it can only get better. Guess who's not going to be an Iron Man going forward? Anthony Davis. Like, it is so, I mean, I need like an All the President's Men not book and movie to explain this horror that has been visited upon these poor innocent Dallas fans.
Thursday morning on ESPN, they had a full segment devoted to, on the heels of that game, Does it matter at this point what happens with the Lakers or Mavs? Is it clear that the Lakers won the trade? What? Like what would have to happen for that not to be the case in turn? Like again, I don't know what it is if it's there's this paradox that exists because of the rolling the 24-hour 365 news cycle that it in a weird way it takes our ability to contextualize things in a bigger way, and everything is just in a silo. Like, well, I guess if the Mavs won a series because AD had a good, played well for a couple of games, like you could point and say, like, well, see, the Mavs weren't so bad, but it's like the damage to the Mavericks brand is done. Did you see that? Did you see that? And I'm not just siloing that when the Lakers and Luka came into town. To your point, the damage is done for a generation now. If you were a Mavericks fan, how would you get into that? So again, like if you're trying to build a sports show and you're going to try to have some pseudo debates about everything that happened from the day before, maybe you could fall into like who won the Luka trade, but it's ludicrous to debate like, well, if Kyrie comes back and then they're good, like the Lakers win because they now have one of the three biggest stars in the NBA, and he's 25, and they will lock him up, and somehow, PR wise or otherwise, the if he enjoys a drink, that will not be a detriment to his legend in Los Angeles, and why it would have been in Texas. The state of Texas, like, well, he drinks, so he ain't committed to ball. Like, and by the way, the bigger picture of all that is also, the Shaq thing, and like, why do I need to develop my game further? I am the best player on the planet, and I prove it season after season after season. And then Kobe would say, yeah, but you could have proved it another season, and we could have done 4 or 5 or 6 in a row instead of those 3. And then your ambition and when is enough, when do you feel satiated, and then you're getting into the human condition and all of that, and why does somebody worth $50 billion need $100 billion and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you don't have that money, and so you don't understand the chase and why people are in it, I guess. But then I come back to physically, at least, just in terms of athleticism. Shaq equals Ovechkin. Ovechkin equals Shaq in this way. Because as Ovechkin breaks the record and songs are rightly sung about the Great Eight and everything else, it's amazing because people have that conversation specific to goal scoring. We had this just last week. We were talking about it. And I think if you're not a hockey fan, you the nuance of like, I know Gretzky is now 1A in terms of goal totals, but he's not a pure sniper. He was not a goal scorer. You wouldn't call him that. He was clever, but he wasn't a goal scorer. Bossy's a goal scorer. Ovechkin, Lemieux, they're goal scorers. Ovechkin is different than the other 2 names I just said there. Bossy was just a pure goal scorer, but there was a finesse to his game. Ovechkin is Shaq and just like, I'm just going to physically dominate. I'm going to overpower you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And 20 years later, that's still going to be my game. And I'm not going to update it at all. I'm not going to modify it. I'm not going to do a mid-career Michael Jordan kind of thing and like turn into a mid-range shooter or whatever the hockey equivalent of that would be. It's like, I'm just going to keep doing it exactly in this fashion all the way through, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's plumb remarkable. He's 2-dimensional. We keep talking about that, and it sounds like we're taking a shot at him, but it's crazy that he could just ride this to one of the impossible records in sports just by like, I'm 6'3", 240, and I'm bigger than you, and I'm more talented than you, exactly like Shaq. Why do I need to make a 17-footer? I'm going to put myself on the block and turn around and dunk it, and I'm going to do that all day, all season and all career, and there's nothing anybody's going to do about it. I think it's remarkable and needs to be celebrated for how distinct it is.
I just am trying to think of how it would have been a real challenge for our AI algorithm app that we've patented to fast forward through hockey talk when you're tying Ovechkin into Shaq. I don't know how our algorithm would have been like, oh God, he's talking about Ovechkin. I'm going to fast forward 10 minutes for the poor 99% of the listeners who could give a shit about hockey. And then it's like, but then he keeps saying Shaq. So like, I think you would have corrupted the app. Getting back to your point of 14 minutes ago, obviously the only way the Mavericks win that trade is if they win the championship this year. That trade gets worse as every day elapses. We've all been in fantasy leagues with morons. And so a moron is ripe for the pickings. Like if by some miracle, Deshaun Watson has consecutive 300-yard passing games at some point in the future, and somebody trades for that guy in fantasy, the rest of the league will be like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. And it's like what Pelinka and the Lakers were able to do is they go, oh my God, the popsicle sticks and bubble gum that hold AD together have held for a couple months. You will never sell higher on AD than this miracle run he's on right now. Everyone else in the world knows it's going to come apart at any second, except for Nico Harrison and maybe Miriam Adelson, not a huge basketball fan. And then Max Christie is having this 3-and-D. Not much is being asked of him. His value has been inflated by this Laker run. And so, of course, Pelinka knows it's all fool's gold. And he knows that his buddy's unhappy with his superstar. So he throws it out there like, hey, man, maybe I could take that headache off your hands and I'll get you this champion DNA of Anthony Davis. And it's like the only way you could make any argument that was a good trade is that AD and Kyrie are on their way to the championship this year. And obviously they're going to lose in the play-in. And then imagine what the trade looks like next year and the year after that. Like it's only going to get worse, as Luka racks up first team all NBAs and possibly titles with the Lakers. It's just, it'll become more and more unbelievable, as AD retires on crutches and Luka is at a fucking championship parade in Los Angeles. People, you won't be able to explain it to people. It's just the worst deal. And it's the kind of trade that I would think would make people reluctant to be sports fans.
That's what I'm right. Exactly. It's weirdly like sort of as I compared the ESPN people advocate, the Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky's advocating for Rodgers and the Steelers. Like only if you imagine them as being Madden avatars, not human beings. Like the Mavs could win this if they did. Like this lasts forever now. The Mavericks have a stink on them so long as Adelson and Nico are around there. The inability to grasp the that's what we're talking about is weird. Speaking of that, now, as I mentioned, Pat McAfee had his big show on the banks of the Three Rivers. All the Pittsburgh legends came out there. No Aaron Rodgers, which is some bit of news because the expectation. I thought they were going to all the way through the show. In fact, I thought because McAfee said he's not here. I thought that was going to be the big misdirect. He's not here, but Mike Tomlin is. Here he is on satellite. Like, I'm a Steeler now, Pittsburgh. And everybody would have cheered, and that would have been that. He gave away, did McAfee, $2 million and $100,000 additionally. My nephew Ben was right next to the guy who got $100,000. Was literally in the it was row C, seat 8. He was in seat 10. What would you do, Eddie Spaghetti, if you won $100,000? What would you spend it on?
What would I spend it on? Pay off anything that I owe and then get myself a no, I'm gonna be getting more noble than that. Instead of saying getting myself a new car, I would help my folks out first since they've helped
That's
me.
sweet. That's
Yeah.
nice. See,
Yeah.
that's
I
nice.
caught
Good.
myself there. Yeah.
Good.
You got to just put that. You got to just put that $100,000 on the sidelines. Then you wait till the maximum leader truths that it's a good time to buy. That then you put your $100,000 in the market. You
Smart.
ride the rocket ship, and then you even though you got to pay capital gain taxes, you take it out right away. You take that profit. This used to be illegal, by the way, when there were laws in the United States of America, but this is the new frontier. So then the market creators again. It's fun. It's fun. Who's not enjoying living life in Russia? It's the lawless frontier of the new American experiment.
Well, speaking of golf, which we kind of are based on your reference there, the annual question: any adjustment to the green or gold jacket premise? I stay green. I would rather have the Masters jacket and all the benefits it brings with it. Any argument from either one of you want to make here in the
Any
year of the Lord
argument.
2025?
I'm definitely gold jacket.
It's insane.
What is?
Green jacket over gold jacket is insane.
Explain.
Mike Weir has a green jacket.
Exactly.
What Bob Greasy has a gold jacket.
He still won. Played in the NFL for
He won
over
multiple
a decade.
Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can't you can't get hot for 4 days and get into Canton. Like
Chris Hanburger has a gold jacket.
Damn
But
right.
no, you know, wait, no, you can save all that and be hot. You can go and spend August in Canton, Ohio. You want to be in sweltering heat for 4 days. That's how you do it. And that's what you get. If you get a gold jacket, you have an annual pass to the celebration in Canton, Ohio. Or you could go have a fancy meal and play the best course in the world. Which sounds better to you?
I just would, first of all, every Hall of Fame football player who has ever played golf has a birdie. They have birdied a hole. No one with a green jacket could tackle somebody in space. Fucking Jack Nicklaus one-on-one with Adrian Peterson.
That's what we need.
Craig Stadler trying to get around Anthony Munoz to get to the quarterback. Like, it's insane. Like, it's not even apples to oranges. Like, it's
Ian Woosnam would be a dynamite third down back, a little scat back like Darren Sproles out of the backfield making hay on swing passes.
Like,
which
also, basically, I mean, it makes sense actually now that I think about it, because whatever the ceiling on our athletic careers, as we saw in Vegas when we were throwing a football, like Spaghetti and I are athletes, so we would like to have a jacket that represents we were athletes who played a sport. You're a non-athlete who prefers games to sports, so you would like a jacket that says I did something where there was no defense, where the defense was played by a tree. And Spaghetti and I want a jacket that says, someone was trying to hit us.
All right. Listen, enjoy Eastern Ohio in August. I'll be down in Augusta eating one of them egg sandwiches for $2.
But it's more than just the Canton stuff. It's like you're obviously, if you make the Hall of Fame, you most likely you played a majority of your career on one team, so you're going to be in their Ring of Honor. You're going to be a legend with that team locally. Like you probably had to play 10, 12 years at minimum to be that good. I mean, some guys are a little less than that, but to me, it's more of an accomplishment that you grew up, you played football, high school, you were good in college, you made the NFL, and then you did your decade plus. It's like a big, cap of the accomplishments. Whereas kind of Hench was saying, you get hot for, a few days and you get a jacket and then you most likely fade into oblivion.
Spaghetti's right. I'd rather be a non-Hall of Fame football player than a green jacket winner. I'd rather be Lyle Alzado than Sandy Lyle. Who fucking gives a shit? You won a golf tournament.
I
I
got
was a
bad
fucking
news for you about
professional.
Lyle Alzado.
I was a professional tackle football player. My God, my kids can respect me.
Unless Eddie Spaghetti can provide some information on Sandy Lyle's health, I think I'm going to take Sandy Lyle over the late Lyle Alzado, who left his mortal coil about I think before the year 2000. But
That's how
okay,
much he cared. That's how much he cared. Lyle Alzado, do anything to win.
you can you can't walk for 20 yards if you're an ex NFL player. What
Well,
about
what
that?
was I supposed to do? All I had was the weakest sounding name of a master winner I could come up with on the spot. I was like, well, Sandy Lyle is not an athlete, obviously. Like, that's so once I'm at Sandy Lyle, I'm stuck. Like then I have to come up with a name, and all I had was Lyle Alzado. But
Oh, I'm so glad because they have a chance to ingest our words before Sunday arrives here. Thank goodness. Everyone in contention listening to us right now, if it's Saturday night or Sunday morning and you're about to hit the links to see if you can win your green jacket here, remember, dress for success. This is the easiest opportunity sports provides for you to color coordinate in advance of what you want. They always say like visualize, those hypnotists do that, sports psychologists hypnotize people to visualization and everything else. If you're in contention going into Sunday at the Masters, wear something that's going to match and look good with Kelly Green, which isn't a lot of things. And yet some guys go out there that, like, if you wear the all black on Sunday, you're going to look dreadful. You're not going to look as bad as Bernhard Longer did in 1985, though. He wore the cherry red that Hench wears right now in not just golf shirt, but pants too. Then he had to put on that Kelly Green jacket, and it looked atrocious. So do like the Golden Bear did. He would wear that nice light yellow golf thing, and then he would wear a nice dark plaid pant that looked so nice with the Kelly Green. So I hope you are all listening there and don't listen to these two about the gold jacket. Football, I'd rather be a great football player than great golfer, but the benefits you get for winning at the Masters are way better. Except I think you have to give your green jacket back after a year. I think they hang it in a museum or something like that. Whereas you can keep your gold jacket and wear it out on the town in perpetuity, which is what I would do all the time to hi hat my friends. I would just all the time, like Hench, you're the great joke you always talk about. The spectacular comedian, the contemporary of Jerry Seinfeld, like Neil Armstrong listening to his friends.
Oh yeah, Brian Regan.
Brian Regan. Like you tell it because you always make me laugh with it.
So you'd rather be Patrick Reed than Ed Reed, Larry Mize than Larry Zonka. This is terrific. This is terrific.
Yeah, Larry Mize also. He wore multi-shade purple. It didn't look good with the Kelly Green jacket. Don't do that. Anyway, so amidst all this, the black and gold celebration earlier on Wednesday, longtime Steeler star icon, destined to get one of those gold jackets at some point in his life, TJ Watt tweets or Instagrams out. What is that? What do you do, Eddie? You Insta it or you gram it?
I would, as a grown man, I'm not saying either of those things. So
Okay,
I would just say post on Instagram. If that's
good.
what he
Posted
did, or
on
post a story.
Instagram
Yeah.
a peace out. What appeared to be a peace out, and who knows what that means? It's cryptic. Oh, it's nothing. And then Thursday morning rolls around, and apparently, according to some of the insiders, there is some smoke. There is some fire here, that maybe there's some discord, and maybe the deal ain't as far along between the Steelers and TJ Watt is. And my response to that is, and I don't want to sound like a heretic, make the deal. Is TJ Watt getting better this year? No. And are the Steelers winning the Super Bowl this year? No. Is TJ Watt going to be better a year and a half from now? Definitely not. Make the deal. You have told the world what you are, and the football players in America have told you what you are. I said it last week. I'll say it again. This delusion that 25-year-old millionaires give a crap about 6 Lombardis way in the rear view mirror is stinking thinking. If Tomlin or anyone else in that organization thinks that that has some cachet for people, it's been disproven over and over and over again. I compared the Steelers earlier this week to the Browns, and people said, Dave, come on now. They're not the Browns. They're not that bad. Well, the Browns and their franchise QB, now that still is the worst trade of all time. Deshaun Watson says he's coming back. That was a terrible self-own. But the Steelers, assuming Justin Fields was going to take them over the Jets because they're the Steelers, is also sort of wacky, but way worse on a fundamental level. Let's keep in mind the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they know how to do business versus they're not willy-nilly like these silly organizations are, the Jets and the Browns or whoever else. Let's keep in mind just where we are here. The Steelers forgot to get a wide receiver last year. They went into the season with George Pickens and nothing else. Oops, we screwed that up. We tried to get Ayuk. Yeah, he used you to get a better deal from a formidable franchise in San Francisco. Justin Fields, like, he's not going to go to the Jets. They're the Jets, and we're us. Like, yeah, Justin Fields is in New York now. This keeps happening, and people are abiding by something that I've long abided by, which is obviously I want our stars to wear only the black and gold. But if that ship has sailed, then pull off the Band-Aid and let's start fresh, because TJ Watt is not getting you any closer to anything. He never has won anything because he's been on the Steelers for the last decade. It's different for me than Crosby and Malkin and those cats, because they have all those Stanley Cups. They bring those Stanley Cups with them. TJ Watt should move on and chase a Super Bowl, and the Steelers should get in the business of chasing one for themselves. TJ Watt's not going to help them do it. Pull off the Band-Aid. Even if this makes me a traitor to the city of Pittsburgh. Hench, how say you?
Well, first of all, as we talked about at length, the last 6 weeks of the season, when that defense was horrendous, it's like game after game, you were like, gosh, imagine if TJ Watt had played. Oh, no, he did play. He played 70 snaps.
That's right.
He was never in the backfield, and he never touched the quarterback, and they weren't even double teaming him. So I don't even know. I'm not sure what his value is. I mean, we always learn that big names get you a third-round draft pick. Like it's not like other sports where you get this crazy haul for a player that puts another team over the top. So
depends where he is in his guaranteed
the Band-Aid. I think you'd be selling pretty low on TJ Watt right now. In terms of what you'd get in return.
You don't think you get a first for TJ Watt?
No. I doubt it. I mean, he didn't get any pressures for a month and a half. Like, I
don't know. Look at the Khalil Mack deal. I think maybe I'm wrong. I think you would be able to pull a first. I don't think the Titans are doing it, but I think a contender would perceive themselves if we drop him.
He'll be 31 in October. I'm kind of with Hench on that, unless maybe he has a monster first half of the season, gets dealt to a playoff team or another playoff team at the deadline.
Hench, did you see? So anyway, that's where we stand with TJ Watt, and this is what happens when these songs being sung about Tomlin, about his greatness and everything else. I suspect that it does work out with TJ Watt. He watched what Myles Garrett did to Cleveland and all those sorts of threats. But now that we've begun this spiral, I am not fixated when the Steelers don't seem to care about that sort of stuff. When they say he's one of our guys, I don't see that as having much value, much meaning to those decision makers at this point, given their actions over the last couple of years. I do like what your Patriots did, though, in hiring Mike Vrabel, especially after seeing his introductory speech to the team. Did you catch that, Hench?
It's such a beautiful culture change. And in fact, as we talk about this fourth pick and the Giants moving supposedly away from Shador, and then it's like, okay, if we don't have Hunter fall to us at 4, what do? We take one of these left tackles, and the Ashton Genty's like Bart, what Saquon showed us last year is like, this position is not obsolete. Like if a guy is phenomenal, it can make a difference in winning a Super Bowl. And the one thing Vrabel had in Tennessee was a horse carrying the ball and creating a lot of seconds and twos. So we're like, we have to protect Drake May. We have to protect Drake May. Well, the other way to protect a quarterback is to have a great running game. You can second and two also protects a quarterback. A left tackle protects a quarterback, but if you're just not going to get an elite left tackle in this draft, then take the running back that rips off chunks. And so like now, I'm now moving into that camp where it's like, all right, if this guy is special, then go ahead and take him at 4. Don't get cute and trade down and hope he makes it past the Jets. It's like if he's the guy, take a swing and then have Drake May have a little balance as opposed to Ramondre Stevenson, whose regression is tragic.
The reason Bill Simmons in our fantasy league strategy fails all the time, he takes a million quarterbacks, and every year he does this. And like, now you got to come to me if you want a QB. He does that all the time. It'd be funny if the Patriots did that with Shedeur, right? I mean, that's basically what all those teams are trying to do, including the Giants. I stand by. It would be funny though if the Patriots like, you want Shedeur, Pittsburgh? Now what are you willing to give us? You could then leverage that into TJ Watt and whatever else you think you might need. I stand by that this is a smokescreen. I know that there is the one looming example of 2021 when it turns out nobody did like any of those quarterbacks outside of Kenny Pickett as a first-round pick, and that several years down the line, it looks questionable. People are saying that kind about this. People have come around on Cam Ward, though, and how that I have been right about. He's clearly going to go number 1. I stand by that Shedeur is top 3. I don't know. Maybe the Browns or Giants will move down and somebody will move up there. But whether it's to one of those two brands or another NFL brand, Shedeur is not getting out of those top 3. QB is everything. And
all right, I hope you're right. Now, let me ask you this. This will be a good way. Let's use this to exit on. Let's get the fuck out of here. Who would you rather have this season? So this is not like long term. This is this season to pressure the quarterback. Would you rather have TJ Watt or Abdul Carter?
TJ Watt. I mean, I think now he's been professionally challenged and all of that and chip on the shoulder. And he's at the stage where he has to prove he still has something. He just gets banged up a lot. And, that
would be a demerit, right?
Okay. Before you go though, Hench, you be gotta weigh in on the White Lotus finale. Come on.
The White Lotus finale was every bit as good as the rest of the season.
Okay.
How's that for a positive spin? Every bit as good as the rest of the season. Raves Hench. Oh, what a waste of fucking time. Oh my God. I mean, it's like, people are like, I had this conversation with Simmons. I've had multiple people go like, I know what he's going for. Like it's my lack of comprehension. Yeah, you know what I'm going for when I watch a TV show? Entertainment. Yeah, I know what he's fucking going for. I get it. I'm fucking bored out of my mind. Like, I gotta watch these 3 middle-aged broads have the same conversation 11 times. Yeah, man, that's what it's like. It's boring. Life's boring, man. You gotta get, I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why we watch TV, to not be fucking bored. Like, it's like, yeah, man, this guy's playing 3-dimensional chess. He's got, because like, what is it all about, man? I don't know. It's like, well, and then it's like, okay, fucking stuff finally going to start happening. Great. Goggins is going to go throw Scott Glenn on the ground and then just go back to his hotel. I'm like, you're obviously getting out of the country. First of all, you think this guy's a murderer. You believe he's a murderer, and you're going to do the Vito Andolini, Brando De Niro going back to Sicily, and then you're like, yeah, I'm going to throw the guy on the ground. I'm not going to kill him. And then I'm just going to go get some fucking brunch back at the White Lotus. Like, That's his hotel. You got to get out of the country, Rick. And if you're, especially on this high you're on. So that's insane that he goes back to the hotel. Then it's like guy who's
Vito Annalini, when he slices that old man south to north,
yeah,
he guts him.
Yeah, that's
Could
the
you do that in
Sicilian way.
real life? Would you be able to drag a big knife up an old man's body like that? Like, wouldn't the rib cage get in the way?
Well, you've got the strength of vendetta coursing through your body. But so then he goes, so then Jodie Foster.
Poor guy with Vito really gets gets the worst of it. He gets that shotgun blast that is cartoonish, the way it just
don't
blows
worry,
him off.
Don't worry, there won't be any gunplay. Just drive me over there. So Jodie Foster's mentor from Silence of the Lambs is strapped, and he tells Rick, get lost. I've got a gun, and I've got these two guys with guns. And Rick's like, I got to see my therapist. Like what? Like, again, if you're in a writer's room with Mike White, you're like, hey, boss, this guy already seems fairly insane, but now he's been shown a gun. Like what? He's got to sit with his therapist. He's got a couple questions. So that was all totally insane.
I thought that also betrayed sort of like the like earned thing, right? Like didn't that undermine the sweetness of like being this guy being saved by the earnest love of his life kind of thing? Like why would he? I think that I largely do. It's funny you say that about like, I could see what Mike White was going for. And I generally do kind of agree with that sentiment. It's like, I at least understood the message he was going for, except with that one. Why would Walton Goggins still go through with that? It was a weird thing. It just is completely random.
By the way, it's like a fucking Andy Warhol movie. Like, oh, I know what Andy Warhol's going for. He's showing us a guy sleeping for 8 hours. I know what he's going for. Like, yeah, the fucking life is miserable. It's brutal and it's short and it's horrible. So just show us a black screen for 8 hours. Because that's life, baby. Fucking get used to it. We're all going to die. Like, yeah. Do you want to fucking entertain us at any point? And obviously, this is the thing about the fucking people who are pretending that was good. It's like, okay, imagine that was the first fucking season of White Lotus. Imagine that was your first, like, you're like, okay, yes, you're saying the first two seasons were awesome, which they were. So then you don't want to be the guy going like, am I not getting it? Am I like, I know you got to be like, no. Mike White and I, we get it. We speak to each other on this level. And so then the other fucking insane thing is the women like have this bitchy, backstabby. Two of them go talk about that. And then poor Carrie Coons has to give this speech at the end about, she has to say in the same speech, I've been so sad all week. You guys are the best. There's nothing like hanging out. Like, I don't understand. Wait, what? This is the time of your life because you're with your two best friends. That's why you've been sad all week. I don't even know, like, and then she's such a great actress that she just does some inner work. None of the dialogue, nothing we've watched.
The praise for that monologue I thought was off the mark, as I thought the language in it was too. But I think that exactly what you're talking about, like we're just reflecting back the tedium of life like that. I can do that on my own. I don't have to turn the TV on for that. I don't need you to show me that. But
and by the way, when I have a moment of conscience and decide not to kill my family, I always rinse out the blender. That's just me.
You didn't run water in it? You just like, left it there?
They leave it in the shot so that we all know, like, it's like, he's like, hey, I knocked the glass out of your hand and I'm gonna hit the bricks. I'm tired. You know why I'm tired? Because I've been taking this bottomless bottle of Xanax. By the way, if she has 40 bottles of Xanax, just say that, but don't have Parker Posey go, I'm running out. I'm almost out. 5 episodes ago, and he's got this fucking magic bottle. Did he go into Bangkok to refill? Like, just endlessly chugging Xanax or whatever it was. And then it's like, hey man, I'm not going to kill my family. I'm just going to go get 40 winks, and I'm going to leave the blender filled with fucking
I agree.
Fruit, which, by the way, I don't know what kind of a financial hit the dad took, but I'm pretty sure you've got a good lawsuit against the White Lotus. Oh yeah, our entire property is lined with easily reachable poison fruit for the guests.
And monkeys too. Yeah, the crime is just like the personification of it is Goggins. It is the NFL. What it reflects is not just the tedium of our general lives, but of the NFL. Like, you have all this big star power and all the rest of it, and the Mike White treated Walter Goggins and that great cast the way the NFL's coaches treated Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in the playoffs, which was, we know you're distinct talents, but don't do any of that because you might fumble the ball. Like, Walter Goggins was just like, just be real down the middle, low key. The whole like Walton Goggins is who you cast to play that part. What the hell? I'm with you. The only thing I liked was the woman who got the $5 million or whatever, or however much money it was. That's the human condition. Dusting the guy. Oh yeah, big plans. Like, I can enrich myself. Like, hey, let's see what happens down the line. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah, by the way, just a little heads up, sweetheart. I know you got $5 million in the bank now, but if you think that is going to translate to better deep dicking than what you just got from this guy, you're out of your fucking mind. You should bring that guy back to stateside. He can be GM. Like, he doesn't, you don't have to marry him, but you should keep him close, because I don't think you're going to be getting any of that thing, even with your $5 million. Like, I don't really know what he was up to either. Maybe a kind of a fetish thing, but feel free.
Bangkok.
Yeah, feel free to bring the super nice guy who's willing to have sex with you back to the States. Yeah, I and that poor actress also had to do the fucking wit pan of I'm the nicest person in the world. And I know this again is the point, but it's like, yeah, you don't, this thing doesn't get to marinate. We don't get to see this change over the course of the season. It happens in one conversation with your son. You're like,
I think that's how it goes, though. I think that's how it goes. I think, right. I thought they got that right. I thought they were.
You know what it reminded me of? My least favorite Best Picture winner of all time, $1 Million Baby. She's a fucking terrible movie, won Best Picture. But so, first of all, we're supposed to believe that she is like fucking rich because she's the female boxing champion. So she's, in 2004, we all know how many millions of dollars that was worth. So anyway, she buys her hillbilly family a house or something, and they're all pissed that it's not nicer. I'm like, what kind of hillbillies? What hillbillies are delighted. They're like, this is like, what kind of, have you ever met a hillbilly, Clint? Because this is not how they react to, I got a house. And so, I just thought the nicest woman in the world might have a little more grace with the $5 million, which, by the way, is not going to last her as long as she thinks.
I agree with that. But, bottom line is, as you talk about those people, like, if I know one thing, it's the coal miners love being coal miners. That's all you could
mining coal.
You could give them $5 million. They wouldn't take it. They might take the money, but they still would be coal miners because they have a passion for it. That's what they love.
Which side are you on? Because
all right, listen, we've said it all.
You feel that rock dust in your lungs, baby? There's no better feeling at the end of a
I've talked to him, man.
Oh my Christ.